This is an NBC News special report. Here's Laura Jarrett.
Good morning, everyone. We are coming on the air with breaking news about former President Donald Trump. NBC News has just learned that the federal classified documents case, the case where he's been accused of hoarding classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate, has just been dismissed by a federal judge in Florida. This news comes as Republicans are set to officially nominate him for president later this week, and less than 48 hours after he survived that assassination attempt on him at a rally in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Obviously, this case has been bogged down in delays for months now. It didn't even have a trial date, but this is an enormous victory for the former president and his legal team. I want to get straight to NBC's Garrett Haake, who covers the Trump campaign for us and joins us now. Garrett, his team had obviously been hoping this case would go away. It was almost a legal long shot to say that the special counsel had been wrongly appointed, but Judge Cannon now agreeing with them.
That's right, Laura. These arguments presented to Judge Cannon in late June. Her decision, a 93-page ruling, coming just hours before the Republican National Convention is set to make Trump not just the presumptive, but the official nominee of the Republican Party. This is, without a doubt, a huge break for Donald Trump and the Trump campaign. I can tell you, conversations with many of his allies, many of his legal advisors on the outside of the campaign thought that this case against him was perhaps the most dangerous. The conduct described within the most clear-cut potential violation of the law, and potentially something that worked against his message going back to 2016 and 2020 about securing our country's secrets. Here, a federal judge whom he himself appointed as president now finds that the Constitution forbids essentially such an appointment as was done here for Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. Now, we've yet to hear any official word from the Trump campaign, but his allies are rejoicing on social media, suggesting that this was not just the right decision, but a necessary one constitutionally. Matt Gaetz, a prominent Trump supporter and something of a pro-Trump Twitter troll, suggests that Aileen Cannon, the judge in this case, ought to be named to the Supreme Court. You know, Laura, there's been so much talk about what the mood of this convention would be like after the attempted assassination of the former president on Saturday. This development from the district court down in Florida going to infuse, I think, a celebratory atmosphere here in Milwaukee once this convention gets underway in the next few hours.
And Garrett, as you point out, this in some ways had been seen as one of the more serious cases for him in terms of the stakes of it, where he's obviously running for re-election while accused of doing something to violate our nation's most closely held
That's
secrets.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to almost underscore what a win this is for him. Obviously, he had the New York conviction. He's going to be appealing that one. The D.C. case essentially gutted because of the Supreme Court saying that he's immune from most prosecution. The Georgia case also bogged down in a completely unrelated delay with no hope of a trial. And this one was still sort of in limbo, but the stakes were high here for him politically and legally.
That's right. And it appears that Donald Trump and his attorneys are going to pull the political equivalent of an inside straight in poker here. I mean, just an absolutely unbelievable run of luck or skilled lawyering, depending on how you want to look at it here, with, as you said, the Georgia case bogged down over allegations of how the prosecutor was conducting herself and in that office. The D.C. case, the federal case related to election interference, as you point out, essentially gutted by a Supreme Court immunity ruling that in this particular case might not have applied. Remember, the conduct alleged here, essentially the hoarding of classified information, some of the country's most sensitive nuclear secrets, was all conduct charged after he was citizen Trump. Ex-President Trump did not, in the argument of the special counsel at least, have anything to do with his conduct as president, but rather his conduct as Donald Trump, the citizen whom he became once again after being president, so theoretically would not have been subject to that immunity ruling. Here, something of a novel legal theory, one that even I think some of Donald Trump's political advisors thought was less likely to be the thing that threw him a lifeline here. Doing exactly that at timing that could not be more fortuitous for the former president as he opens his convention, as his opponent, President Biden, has been weakened and hobbled by the Democratic response to his handling of that first debate with his own campaign ads off the air. Democrats essentially sitting back in this moment after the former president was the target of that attempted assassination over the weekend. And now just this incredible legal and political break for a former president just as he's about to seize the national spotlight for his 4-day convention.
Yeah, Garrett, the timing just here could not be more fortuitous.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.